Here.
Jackie McCurdy,
Here.
Chris Corey,
Here.
Jessie Burton,
Here.
Allan Horowitz,
Here.
Robert Donaldson,
Here.
and Russell Wynn.
Here.
All right. Could we have an introduction, starting with Barbara, giving some of your background and your,
Okay, how much of this do you want?
not a lot.
I mean, being a
I'd
professor,
rather
I
get
usually
outta
talk in
here early.
15-minute increments, but, all right, let's see. I'm a professor emerita of Wesleyan University. I have a bachelor's in psychology, an MPA, and a PhD in public law. My major interests in public law were constitutional interpretation, statutory interpretation, and separation of powers.
And where do you live now?
I live in Pelican Landing.
Pelican Landing. John?
Next up, all right, I'm John Jenkins. I'm the executive director of Bonita Springs Utilities. I've been doing that for about 3.5 years. Prior to that, I practiced law for about 30 years, primarily in the areas of public utilities. Did work with and for a number of different cities and counties around the state of Florida. Moved to Bonita 3.5 years ago, but had been doing work with BSU for many years before that, so I'm familiar with the area and the incorporation of the city. BSU has a franchise with the city, and we work with the staff here. And my wife Kitty and I moved down here and really enjoy the area.
Thank you. Omer?
So it all started the day my parents met. No, just kidding. So 25 years entrepreneur, business development, undergraduate economics, psychology and political science at UF, MBA also from Yale, and master's degree in real estate development, urban planning, and real estate design.
What do you do in Bonita?
I do real estate development here, and honestly just live here because it's a beautiful place to be.
Good.
But most of my businesses are around other places, but I have some here.
Jackie McCurdy. I'm an attorney. I was vice president of Seagram, the liquor company, and did all their industry and government relations around the world. I have been in the legislature, the Maryland legislature, 100 years ago, and did a lot of things in politics. And now I'm chairman of the Center for the Arts, which I've been for, this is my 4th time. And I'm also on the board of Everglade Wonder Gardens and Gulf Shore Life magazine and a few other things.
Chris Corey, have undergraduate degrees in political science, concentration in constitutional law, and accounting from Southern Illinois University. Moved to St. Louis, married my wife. We've just celebrated 50 years, and worked as a CPA for KPMG and then later PricewaterhouseCoopers. Retired in '07, have owned a place in Bonita Bay since 2007. Moved down here full-time in 2016. I'm currently president of the Bonita Bay Community Homeowners Association, as well as the Stanzia Condominium Association in Bonita Bay.
My name is Jessie Burton, and I am, I'm a Bonitian above all else. I'm the chairman of the outreach committee for Bonita Springs. We made that an international event this year by incorporating other countries into it. We did the largest Fiesta Bonita we've ever had, and we're just really on fire. We got Marnie Fields up and open. I mean, I love the city of Bonita. I've been very passionate about it from when I was trying to save the historic water tower that still exists right now in downtown Bonita to fighting the flyover on 41. So I've been around kicking in the Bonita woods for quite some time. I'm actually a national writer for the Hill Talk, and I write on international political, international and domestic federal political issues. I'm the vice president of public policy for an organization that represents about 7,000 commercial and real estate realtors in Naples. Let's see what else. That's about it.
I
That sounds
Seems like
good.
it
Sounds
keeps you
good.
busy enough.
That sounds good.
So yeah, I'm excited to be here. I think this is one of the coolest committees that the city does. So it's really an honor to be part of it, honestly. So thank you.
My name is Allan Horowitz. My wife and I have been residents here in Bonita for just about 6 years. Spent most of our lives in New Jersey, so it's beautiful down here. I mean, it's like dying and going to paradise. We both really love it here. Right? I'm a chemical engineer by trade, so I'm going to be the other half of the brain as compared to all you, right? So we're going to get along just fine. I live in Village Walk in Bonita, and I've served on numerous committees, strategic planning and architectural review, and the election committee and various other things. So just love it down here. And being an engineer, I'm a little kind of a stickler for laws and rules and regulations, but only if they're fair and relevant and important, and that's why I'm here.
Good. Good. Thank you.
You have two more, Jackie.
Oh, I'm sorry. Right, the alternates.
Good afternoon, I'm Bob Donaldson. I've been a Bonita resident since 2014. Moved in from Orlando. I've been with Hertz for 35 years in various managerial roles, including operations, marketing, and finance.
We're very glad to have you, Hertz, and you.
Well, thank you.
My name is Pastor Russ Wynn. I've been lived in Bonita since 1995. We have a master's in divinity. Started Living Waters Community Church in 1996. Built the building, which now the Arts Center now owns. Left that position in 2006. Did chaplaincy work in NCH Hospital. Currently, we started the outdoor church downtown Bonita, and we've been in existence for 7 years now. We just bought 10 acres next to the YMCA, which we'll be looking at kind of moving in that direction in the future for the church. My wife and I owned Noah's Ark Academy, which is a preschool. We ran about 100 kids a day. We just recently sold that. So been in town since 1995. Raised my kids here, watched Bonita grow, become a city. So I guess I add to the flavor. Been in town for a while now, and wanted to see this town just continue to grow and be the town that it's, the reputation that it is. So privileged
it's
to
a good
being
town.
able to serve here.
I've been here since '87. I love it. Now we have anyone volunteer or nominate someone to be vice chair of the committee. Would anybody volunteer?
I'll nominate Mr. Burton.
That sounds great.
Jesse?
I would
Are
accept
there
that.
Will you
if there's somebody,
accept?
I would accept if there's somebody else who would like it.
I think it's a wonderful idea.
All in
I second it.
favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You're vice chair.
Thank you.
Good.
Nomination, but not a second.
Yes, there was a
Who made
second
the
by
second?
John.
Okay.
Would you all look at your contact information, which is the second sheet, just to make sure everything's correct?
Mine is not correct. I'll get you a better telephone number.
What?
The telephone number is not right on mine, so I'll do that. It's 7301, not 91301. 908-7301.
Is that the only change?
That's all that's changed, just the 7 instead of a 9.
Can you repeat that again, Bar? I'm sorry.
My telephone number, the last 4 digits are 7301, not 9301.
Okay. And also for
Anyone?
me, I'm sorry, Russ _ Wynn. That line there might have hidden that underscore, so that's an underscore between Russ and Wynn.
Oh, it's not a full underscore, it's just between the two words?
Between the two words, yes.
Absolutely. I might have an extra.
Anything else? All right. All right, Derek, I
Well-
believe you're on.
And now with those changes to the contact information is the part where I get to tell you, don't email each other, don't call each other, so, you know. Good evening. obviously, we have a number of lawyers and on the board, but we also have a number of people who have been involved in committees and interests of the city previously. So this, for many of you, may be a refresher.
Could you speak closer to the,
Sure. I'm also recovering from losing my voice from last week, so
oh,
I apologize. I'll give you the shorthand. There's a presentation for me. We can go through it page by page, but the quick overview is in Florida, there's a constitutional provision, what we call the Sunshine Laws collectively, which is no secret meetings, no secret documents. So all documents of the government and your role in this will be available to the public for inspection, copying, review, whatever. And all of your meetings will also be subject to public notice and being open to the public so that they can participate in the sausage making process. The general rationale for this, I think, is self-evident. You know, the perception that government was making decisions in closed-door rooms and men with cigars making backroom deals. You know, this has been a push of Florida since the 1970s to eliminate all of those provisions. And so the idea is that even an advisory board, as such as yourself, all of your actions when you're interacting with each other, moving towards the recommendations that will be ultimately sent to the city council and to the electorate, those have to be done in a public manner. I could read through the statutes as we go through, but you'll see the first, I think the second page in your handouts is public meetings. Any meeting of any board or commission of any state agency, blank, 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 shall be declared open to the public at all times. You may not be you are an appointed board. Appointed boards, just like elected boards, even when they are only in an advisory capacity, are subject to the same rules the city council is, and the county commission, and Mr. Jenkins' boards, but not the Florida legislature. Just make that one clarification I'd like to always highlight. They can still meet
in the back room?
anytime they want. This only applies to board members for the public meetings portion of the same board. So you are free to meet with constituents, other board members of the city council, other advisory board members, in your fact-finding roles, kind of get information, or even in seeking advice on possible issues that may come up for the charter review. It's only those instances when you would speak to each other that we need to make sure that that's done in a public setting. And now we will obviously have, through this process, we're going to set up meetings that will happen on a regular basis. But if at any time you guys want to meet more often than that because you need to based on your charge, then we will work with the city staff so that we can get those advertised and that the public can attend. The three requirements of the public meetings are that it's reasonable notice, so there's an opportunity for people to know that the meeting is occurring. The meeting itself is open to the public, and that there are minutes taken. That's what Ms. Weiss is here doing today in her off hours, is keeping minutes of everything you guys discussed. There won't be verbatim minutes, but generally there'll be minutes of what was discussed and what the recommendations ultimately will be, so that someone coming back later on can review those recommendations and understand the thought-making process. Sunshine issues also only relate to issues that are likely or pending issues before the Charter Review Committee. So that doesn't mean that after this meeting is over that the chair and the vice chair couldn't go out for a cup of coffee. That just if there's any chance that you're going to have a conversation about things that are likely to come up before the Charter Review, that those are those items that are sunshine. Otherwise, you're free to talk to each other and run into each other in Publix or wherever you are in the city and not feel that you're not allowed to say hello or discuss, sports scores or traffic conditions or when it's finally going to get warm again. Gone through a bunch of these. Let's see if I can get on to... One of the other restrictions that we find ourselves dealing with in this modern age of technology is emails. Because there's a range of communications in the sunshine, some communications are not really, I would consider them public records. If you hand a Post-it note to someone saying, can we take a 5-minute break, I would not consider that to be a public record. However, when you're sending emails back and forth, even if you're sending, in many ways, we call one-way communications, you send an email saying, look at these interesting things I found in the charter review for Siesta Key, and the possibility that those emails were responded to and become a two-way communication is something we want to try to avoid as much as possible. So to the extent that in your individual research and preparing for your role here, you come across things that you'd like to share with the others, what we ask is that you send it to us so that we can distribute it to everyone. That way there isn't a chance for that back and forth that would have to be a public record. The other thing is social media, another situation. You may want to post on your own personal social media that you're involved in these meetings. The concern may be that members of the public or other members of the committee may want to engage you on that social media platform, and then that social media link or whatever conversation occurs has to become is becoming a public record. And so that puts you in a role of trying to preserve those records. So to the extent possible, like try to reduce the engagement that's on social media through Facebook or Nextdoor or whatever other medias you may use to try and solicit information regarding your role. The consequences, right? The big scary bugaboo. If you knowingly violate the Sunshine Law, and this occurs with both the public records or the open meetings law, it's a $1,000 penalty, up to 60 days in jail, and you risk removal from your office. So I don't think that that's something that anyone's looking to do, but I just thought I'd point it out because from time to time, there's nothing more that a new state attorney or a new governor likes to do than find people that they can tag and remove from office. With respect to public records themselves, the statute, I've left an excerpt from section 119. It's a communication. It's the dissemination of knowledge or information in any manner or any form. This means the emails, phone calls, carrier pigeon, any way that communicates knowledge that is of value to the public and should be preserved. Now, the concern, obviously, with you guys are giving up your time in an advisory role, you're volunteering to help out the city. You're also using your personal email. We try to keep the communications down, what we send you, again, also in that one-way form so that we can have the conversations here in the public, because there have been instances in the past when has nothing to do with you, but if some person believes that there's more communications beyond that, we do not want to get your home computers audited effectively by someone who thinks that there's additional communications going on out there. So again, to the greatest extent possible, limit any communications to just those official dialogues the city is keeping on our servers, so we have a copy of everything that occurs.
We also share additionally, if you have a communication, for example, if a resident were to ask you a question on the process and you wanted to respond, in your response, if you copy myself or Meg Weiss, that keeps it on the city server. So if you're going to respond to an email or you get an email, please feel free to forward that to us so that it's recorded properly on the city's server. And additionally, if you want to provide a response to someone regarding a matter that could come before the board, make sure you copy a member of staff on that email, and that way it will be officially recorded.
Yeah. So when we get a public request, if it's on our servers, we can just do a scan and pull all that data without having to involve you at all. I did cite one case at the end of my packet, and that case was Citizens for Sunshine versus City of Venice. In that particular case, nothing like what I would expect ever happen in the city of Bonita, but the council members in Venice were having lunch with each other. At least a majority of them were having lunch with each other right before their meetings and discussing the items that were coming on their agenda. And this local interest became aware of this, and it was a significant strain on the city because it wasn't just, the city staff had no idea this was going on, but it ended up that all of their personal computers were brought in, and it became a big, to separate their public lives from their private lives and expose even those council members who weren't, involved in it to significant scrutiny. So that's sort of like the horror story that I always point out. That's not the one you want to do. And I've been in some litigation myself where, you know, people's personal diaries, it just gets out of control when there's a perception that there's something going on outside, you know, where there's those errant emails between board members, even about something innocuous that they get because they get it off the server and they think, well, there must be more to that. So, and with that, I leave you terrified and ready to move on with your charge.
We won't talk to each other. A discussion of the resolution. Are you going to do that, Arlene?
I'll give a little bit of a brief background
Yeah,
of the
background,
resolution.
why?
Back in February 5th of 2009, that was the conclusion of the last Charter Review Committee, and every 10 years, as part of that process, we begin this exploration of the charter and look at relevant issues and concerns that come up. Additionally, Chair McCurdy and I are meeting individually with council members to get their first glance or first look of things they've heard along the way and get some ideas. We then will be working to schedule, as you have on the agenda, a joint meeting with the City Council and the board to review those items. And along the way, we'll continue to see as we formulate more recommendations to look at outreach again to the council members individually prior to their vote, so that at the regular City Council meeting. This board is intended to begin. It was appointed in December of 2018, and we will conclude your recommendations by October of 2019. And which is the routine with this particular board, is that at that point the board's distinguished so that you're no longer subject to those sunshine laws that Derek was just discussing after that point, after your service.
But we'll have to also get them in by September, isn't that correct? So that they
Correct.
can go on the ballot if...
The idea is that these would be available for the March 2020 election. That is the
Correct.
goal.
Just for clarification purposes, after October, when our time ends, even if there's pending policy issues that are potentially going to be on the ballot, we could then be an advocacy standpoint if it was something that we were strongly believing in. It's something service is over, we know what's going on because we were the ones who put it there. We aren't bound to any type of staying out of it. We can be involved actively if we want to after that point.
Once the committee is disbanded, then you no longer have any obligations with respect to sunshine law. And in my experience in the past, it is true that members of the committees, and if not the committee entirely, will often show up at subsequent meetings as we get closer to the election day.
Stay
because,
behind the initiative.
well, and there will be the members of the public who come out and may, you know, start to challenge things as they start to learn about what's on the ballot.
Yeah, we did that earlier when I was chairman also of this committee. And we talked about it.
I mean, because it just seems
You're
clearly-
finished once
Yes.
you give it
Yeah.
to the council.
That's good because you know it's not going to end. I mean, people like us listening to the pedigree from all of you on here, you guys are I don't want to generalize, but politically, you have it in your bones,
Savvy,
right?
it's
So this isn't going to die when we're done. If we put all this work and time into it, we're going to want to see it over the finish line, whatever it is in general, unless it's a Hatfields and McCoy's thing and we don't agree. But either way, I don't see us stopping. So I was just clarifying that we were able to do that after.
Good.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question as well? Is there any direction from the council at this point as to anything they wish us specifically to look at, or are we just
So
mucking around, so to say?
We began some individual conversations, and there's some broad-based ideas at this point of things they'd like us to explore more, which I think we just actually started those meetings today, a little bit earlier. So I think Chair McCurdy and I could sit and kind of get some of those bullet points fleshed out as some discussion points. Additionally, they asked us to start to begin to look at some other jurisdictions and how they handle some items and bring that back to them as well. So.
And also, if one of these items is something that you're very interested in, you could be the point person that goes and looks at the different jurisdictions or, you know, whatever, rather than our depending on the city to do everything. So we will have those, I would think, very shortly, because we just worked on it for 4 hours today. Okay. And you mentioned the joint meeting, but the joint meeting will be in like April or something before everybody leaves
We would like to do it during traditional seasons
season.
so that we can have as much public participation in the process.
We don't want everybody to leave and then they say we held the hearing or the meeting and nobody came, which I think that's what we have today. So we don't want that when we get the recommendations of it.
I think until we have some idea of what we're going to be looking at, what our agenda is about. I mean, I've read the documents, but I haven't the slightest clue where we ought to be focusing, what you want to have done. And I think I sure need some guidance before I would
I
know
think
what to do.
I think, Barbara, you'll find that when you get the bullet points that we've gotten from some of the council,
That would be helpful.
and when the citizens hear some of the bullet points and become interested, because the last hearings that we had some people from the city at every meeting with suggestions or saying they didn't like what they had heard. And
Okay.
so I think once we get going, this is just to get us going. And we met since 12:15
We just started today meeting.
with different ones of the council.
Okay.
And now we'll put it together as, without names or anything, just put
Just the
together the ideas so that we can float them to the breast.
And I think it'll, like she's saying, it's going to percolate out once they start to get an idea of what these suggestions are, and people will reach out to you. I've had people reach out to me already on things, and there's nothing even up.
I had
So-
somebody say, "Don't you dare let them take this." And I didn't even know what it was, so
Venetians pay pretty
they'll
close
pay
attention.
attention once we
So,
get
yeah.
started.
And the person who appointed you might have a thing or two that they might have in mind as well.
Yeah, I've sat through a couple of these for counties and cities, and there's gonna be some of the big issues, the big ticket issues that you'll be dealing with right from the beginning, and you'll be dealing with them right up to the end, and then advocating for changes or non-changes right before you get to the city council. And then there'll be a lot of other things that are low-hanging fruit, which are look at things that were changed over the last changes, and were they positive changes, were they negative changes? And then there's gonna be a lot of just cleanup. There's stuff in there that may be confusing. There may be, there may be other items that,
And
Keep
we've
out-
had that all morning.
We did.
yeah. And
All
so,
all
and I think
those items.
those will take up a lot of the time in between the big changes.
Can I ask you to provide us with a report of what changes were made in 2009 at the last? That would be very helpful to know what kinds of things were on the agenda then.
Arlene, were you here last time for this? And I just from curiosity standpoint, did the council take all of the recommendations that the Charter Review Commission gave last time, and did it go to fruition in regards to a ballot initiative of some kind?
I'm gonna have to defer to, I was with the city, but I sit as a
I
liaison
think
to
they
the
accepted
committee.
most of
Most
them,
of them,
yes,
I-
yes.
from what I
I don't
recall.
remember, it's been a while, and I've done a few other things, but I don't remember them challenging anything. It was more cleanup and getting things, we were new at the beginning when I was chairman, and then when I was chairman again, we had more things.
There was a longer span of period
Yes.
of time in between the original
The
Charter Review
2000
Committee.
and then,
Oh, gotcha.
I was trying to impress you all by doing some homework, and so I Googled that and came up with a list of apparently 10 charter amendments that were proposed and put on the ballot back in 2010. And it looks like all but 3 of those were passed, and so I thought it was an interesting list. So if you could get us a copy of the report and
we'll take a copy of your list. Can we do that?
If you give it to
Yeah.
them, they
The
can
green sheet in the minutes.
get it around.
We'll
to us.
pull all we'll pull everything we had. There should have been a report to the council what the changes are, and then we can put also what didn't pass, what did pass, in case you think sentiments have changed or not changed.
That's
I would take
That'll be
your
good.
list.
That'll be very interesting to look at.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but I got rid of
Well,
everything, you know.
And
in
I don't,
regard to this.
honestly, I don't know the reliability of this, so
If it's on the
I'd
internet,
suggest
must
we
be
get it
good.
from the, yeah.
We'll get it for the we'll get it for the supervisor elections.
Yeah. But I was impressed with the work
Yeah.
that was done back then.
Oh, good, good. Okay. Well, we have no public comments.
Being no public.
Since there's no public here. And our meetings are scheduled for the second Monday of the month
Great.
at
Next
4
one.
o'clock.
The next one is February 12th.
That's a Tuesday.
I'm sorry, the 11th.
Look on your own calendar and we'll, it's the second Monday of the month.
Yeah, that's clerk thing to do.
And for clarification,
Sorry about that.
this goes until October, our responsibility?
Yes.
Your responsibility to the committee is till
Yes.
October, but prior to that, we would hope to have the recommendations to
We-
council by
in September.
Okay.
And then we
Once
just-
you give the recommendations, you're finished.
Okay.
So we hope it's over in September, only because of the timing to get it on the ballot. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody's ever opposed to adjourning. Very good.
The whole meeting should be that.